Hey, welcome to Early Access Control, Alpha, Beta, and Abandon, where we take a look at games in those phases. Today we are looking at Savage Lands, and we're going to give you a glimpse of where it is at in its development. And we can tell you right off the bat, it's sitting in a beta phase. It's had 11 updates this year, and looks to have two more. They are pegged for November, December, one of them being a content drop. So that is good news if this is a game that you've been following. Now, right off the bat, we're going to take a look at what makes Savage Land special and what I feel is a big part of the game and a big part of the draw to a game like this. Now, Savage Lands isn't just your run-of-the-mill survival game where you're thrown into a map and you got to chop some wood and kill some stuff and punch some trees and rocks and, do all that kind of same old stuff. It's actually a lore-based game where the world speaks to you through little pieces of paper, books, scenes, mysterious objects, and all these kind of things that are thrust at you should give you a reason to kind of explore this world. And if it doesn't, maybe that's just not your bag of tea, and that's all cool, and you don't have to worry about it. But for me personally, I think it's a great feature about Savage Lands. Now, the world itself is a dark, mysterious, macabre place. There's corpses, and there's evil lurking, and there's also magical essence to it. There's dragons flying around. It's fantasy. There's the walking undead. There is trolls, goblins, orcs. Well, maybe not orcs. So when I talk about the mysterious things in this world, points out to things like some objectivity that you have to explore. You have to get out in the world and you have to kind of learn a little bit more if you're going to progress further into a game like this. Sheer drive to get out there and force a player to actually interact and look at the world and unlock magical portals and do all these kind of things is what makes Savage Lands special. I don't want to just survive for 30 days and say, hey, I'm doing awesome. I want the reason for me to go out there every day and kind of improve my gear and repair my gear and do all these things, because if it's not there, it's probably I'm not going to want to play it. Now, if we take a look at the combat is pretty basic. You've got your right mouse buttons; they do the attacking, and there's something that it's familiar about it due to a couple other games that big names that kind of use the system, and I'm okay with it. And I don't need anything more fancy than that. I don't need a triple combo or anything like that. It's all good because it works well with the way Savage Lands is built up. It's an item and armor and weapon based kind of game where the way that you get more powerful is you craft more powerful stuff, and that's how you're going to do it. You're not going to level up. There's no experience points. There's none of that. You've got to find the materials needed to make the awesome gear, or you need to find the mobs that contain the gear to kill them, but chances are you need the gear to kill the mobs in order to get better gear. I'm cool with a system like that because it means replayability, and it means actually having a goal-oriented system. When I speak of goal-oriented systems, I'm going to refer basically to Savage Land's starting experience, which is probably one of the best ones I've come across in a game in this genre. It's got you pegged into this little destroyed camp, and you need to survive, and you need to equip gear, but you also need to find a reason of what the heck's gone on, and how do I progress beyond this. And Savage Lands, the Last Bastion Studio, they've added little hidden objectivity that a lot of people kind of just overlooked. Like, there are actually mini bosses in here that you need to kind of determine what do they drop. Do they drop key parts of this puzzle that I'm trying to explore, and is it going to help me work my way through the problems that I have? Now, the best starting experience, like on Savage Lands, does have a mini boss that you need to become powerful enough to beat in order to get the items that you need to unlock the rest of the world. Now, I really appreciate people who develop a game like this that spend time and make an experience like that, because it gives me a glimpse into what potential end game ideas they might have, and it's not just a strictly survival based survive for this X amount of time. And that's essential in order to keep a community interested. So well done So when I mention that, remember that there are objectives that might not seem so clear in the beginning, but as you learn about the history and learn about the intrigue to the world, and you start seeing these big badass monsters that want to kill you, then you might you're gonna learn and you're gonna evolve past the earlier portions of the game, and you'll be like, hey, okay, now I kind of get what I need to do around here, and it's a great feature. Survival games got to have building. Building is the basic essential to beyond crafting tools that you're going to need to do to survive. There are quite a few structures in the Savage Lands that you can build. It is more of a hologram based footprint that you're putting down rather than piecing together floorboards and walls and stuff like that. So you can place these structures pretty much anywhere that isn't obstructed by something that is going to regrow or repopulate, or is terribly lopsided maybe. I'm not 100% sure with the collision idea behind a lot of them, but it doesn't really matter. Find the ones that will allow it to go a yellowish green, and place your structure down. Don't try to put it in a tree. It's not going to work. Just use a little bit of logic and you'll be fine. And then you need to go out the battle of getting the resources needed to flesh that hologram into a fully recognized texture, and that is, you know, satisfying to say the least. You watch it build as you plunk material into it, you know, and depending on how hungry you are for those resources, there's some structures that take a serious amount of resources to build, and I don't really have the mindset to sit there and grind for, you know, 600 planks of wood, but a lot of people do, and people do it in teams, and people do it in guilds, and it is a multiplayer game, so maybe you can find somebody that's going to help you out with that if you do want to build a massive town hall. So the progression system is item based, we'll say. It is all about your armor, all about your weapons. So crafting is a huge part of Savage Lands. It's done a la crafting tables that look really well. I'm happy to say that you're not pulling into your backpack and pulling out a broadsword that you just made. No, you've got to actually build the tables that will make the components that will forge the swords. The tables themselves actually look the part. I say that because they've done a good job at Last Bastion Studios and in Savage Lands making tables that you kind of want to place. They're going to help flesh out your buildings and your town and your area where you're living, because they look really good. They look cool. A forge looks like a forge. Cauldron looks like a cauldron. Tanny rack. They all look kind of cool in this own art style, this dark, mysterious art style that Savage Lands has, and I'm happy when stuff lines up accurately visually for a player, and Savage Lands does it really well. Now, the items you're going to be crafting are tiered kind of per resource. So as you make your way through the game, you're going to find higher level resources that you need to collect, like silver. And there's not a lot of silver, and I need some damn silver, but you've got to find it, and you've got to get out there and explore it, but you've got to be able to survive to explore. So that brutality and that harshness of Savage Lands really kind of lends itself to getting out there, staying on top of the gear, and, you know, pushing you to a well-balanced system. The balancing is something that has always kind of been being worked on. It's being nurtured by Last Bastion Studio, and it's part of the updating phases that you'll notice most. There are tweaks here and there that make more sense. Going back to the starting experience, it's so well balanced in that initial phase of the game that when I said it was satisfying, I meant it. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything arbitrary or anything too extreme to where you're kind of going like, why am I doing all this? It feels really good. So another kudos to Last Bastion Studio on that starting experience. I really like it. And other than that, you're looking for gear that is based, that is going to have components to the systems that they have at work for your fatigue and for your damage mitigation, and all those kind of things in order to survive longer. So higher quality gear is going to have things that are going to affect you positively, and make you survive longer. It's going to improve your survivability against damage and against poison and against all these kind of things. So you got to keep an eye out as you're progressing through this game for things like that. There are dungeons. There's kind of like you know, really tough mobs. There's rare spawns that drop all this wonderful RNG loot table gear. So the RNG aspect of Savage Lands is there, and be prepared for it. So overall, in closing, Savage Lands is sitting in a pretty awesome state. If the developers, the Last Bastion Studio, stick to the same formula they've been using, especially at creating the initial starting experience, I think overall this game is going to be a really, really solid fantasy survival game, and it's probably going to go down as probably my favorite in that genre. I'm especially looking forward to any sort of content drop that they have coming, and it makes me feel pretty excited for the future of Savage Lands, and I really hope to see the community grow, because these guys deserve it, and they're doing a heck of a job putting together an amazing indie developed game. So if you've liked this video and you figure it's something that you'd like to see more of, please subscribe, and please stop by the website, and you'll get an idea of what we're doing at Early Access Control. And yeah, thanks for watching.